It's the ERP Confab. I'm David Essex, industry editor at Informa Tech Target's ERP website. The chief information officers of tech vendors sometimes play a dual role, not only running all of IT or keeping the lights on, but serving as customer zero in the company. It's also known as drinking your own champagne and means using new products internally before releasing them to customers. The practice has been found to improve innovation, quality control, and customer satisfaction. For Sumit Johar, Customer Zero has often meant trying out emerging machine learning and generative AI tools. He leads that effort as CIO of Blackline, which makes cloud-based accounting and finance software. In the podcast, he talks about the role of AI in Blackline's internal IT automation and digital transformation work, the lessons learned, and how that knowledge affects product development. He names the places where AI could have the biggest impact, including regulatory compliance and security, and explains why he thinks AI won't cause significant job loss and what employees should do to stay ahead of the curve. So you've done a lot of work with machine learning and generative AI and have been testing, as I understand it, some of the latest versions of products from the likes of OpenAI. How do you think the more advanced AI that you're seeing now could transform how CIOs and IT departments deliver their services?
David, happy to answer that, but let me first give you some context on the word of the CIOs. What is it that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? I've been working as a CIO for quite a while now. This is my third CIO role here at Blackline, and one thing that I've seen consistently is that there is always more demand and there is always limited capacity. So CIOs are always trying to get more and more efficient to be able to handle their day-to-day kind of work. We call it as keeping the lights on, and find more capacity to do the work that's more transformative, the work that's got real business value, right? So as far as the role of AI is concerned, what has happened in the last couple of years is that the new form of AI, what we call as generative AI, has brought some new avenues for CIOs to exploit that were not available before. I'm just going to share a couple of them with you. One is that it was extremely hard to process and analyze unstructured data. And what I mean by that is spreadsheets, PDF documents, logs, data in the form of media files, etc. These were not easy to process or get value out of. For example, one of my sales guy gets on a call, the call gets recorded. Hundreds of sales guys are basically doing these, customer calls every day. And my head of sales is constantly scratching their head and figuring out what is it that we are not doing right. Are these calls going well? Are we not pitching our story well to the customer? How do you analyze that? Unless you could sit in every single meeting of them, you don't know what's really going on in those meetings. And now there are AI based solutions out there that can find insights and automatically share those with you. These are the avenues that are becoming available for CIOs to directly help our business counterparts on both top line and bottom line related initiatives, right? So unstructured data has been untapped, and now we can tap that. And the second thing I want to share with you is the experience. I mean, we have been living in this world for so long where my employee has a problem and they want to report that problem to IT. We receive a ticket, the ticket gets assigned to somebody else, and then by the time the ticket gets resolved, unless it got lost in this whole process, it generally takes a couple of days, if not more, to provide a solution to an employee. And with the help of generative AI, even that is changing dramatically. I want to share how we are doing this at Blackline. If one of my employees has a problem, they come at this chatbot agent that we have deployed internally. We call it Bucky. They ask a question to Bucky, and Bucky responds without requiring any help from anybody. And if it cannot, then explains, how to basically log a ticket. But right there, 20 to 30% questions get answered. Those tickets never got generated for IT departments. What is all of this doing for me? All of these new ways of solving problems is creating enough new capacity for my team that was earlier not available. It's not like I'm hiring more people. It's just that I'm becoming more and more efficient, and I can take out some of that bandwidth from my existing workforce and apply it to more meaningful tasks. So that is in a nutshell how the AI is transforming the world of the CIOs.
In your LinkedIn profile, you say you believe in the concept of drinking your own champagne. How might what you and your team are learning about AI driven automation internally at Blackline, and I think this is maybe called the customer zero concept, how does that affect the products that Blackline is offering as customers to help them automate their own finance processes?
Well, first of all, let's understand what is this customer zero concept. So earlier I was telling you I've been a CIO for 3 times, and interestingly, I've been a CIO for technology companies mainly, product organizations, product companies. And the thing with technology companies is that everybody is expected to play a role in improving our own technology. That's how we make our technology better. And I really believe in this concept. So, in all 3 roles that I have played so far, I had separate teams internally dedicated just to basically deploy our own technology internally. And I always had a very strong relationship with the product and technology organization. So, the feedback, the lessons, everything that we learn from internal tests, that gets shared with our product organization so our customers can leverage the value that we got out of that lessons. Everything that we share directly indirectly gets incorporated in the product strategy one way or the other. Either we catch the bugs first so our customers don't have to, or we share the feedback so our product team can provide better experience to our customers. So that is the idea behind customer zero. And as far as Blackline is concerned, like any other organization, any other technology organization, I should say, we are a big believer of consuming our own technology or drinking our own champagne. The product that is used by a customer is also used internally by my team. And the same concept that I was explaining before, we are executing that here day in, day out, working very, very closely with our product and technology team.
I'm wondering if there are some lessons that really come to mind, maybe 2 or 3 recent ones, or results that you're gaining from your own internal use,
Sure.
the customer zero concept, that seem to be the most applicable lately to the finance processes that your customers are facing.
Let me first throw some light on the word of the finance. Why is finance organization different, and what does AI mean for them? So, David, this is my first time working for a financial technology organization, and there is one thing that I've learned working for this organization is that finance is one team that is not always looked at as the consumer of the latest and greatest technologies. Not by design, not that they don't want to, but it's just that the stakes are much higher and the scope of or the margin of error is really low. These are the processes that have a direct impact on the financial statements that get shared with the street, and they have to pass several audits. So there is really not much scope of error when it comes to those kind of processes, right? And because of that, these consumers are generally very conservative as they adopt new technologies. Now, when AI was initially, or generative form of AI was initially, came in the picture a couple of years back, there were some real big concerns about explainability. There were some concerns about data privacy. There were concerns about accuracy. Now, imagine you applying a new form of technology to a process that has to pass an audit. And the first question the auditor is going to ask you is, can you explain me or provide me an evidence that your process is basically error proof or the outcome can be predicted? That wasn't easy with the new form of AI before. It is changing now. So the mindset among the finance teams are also changing. They're still skeptical, but they're absorbing, they're starting to learn AI, they're starting to learn where we can apply AI. And the lessons that we are learning here is there is such a big opportunity for finance teams because they are the biggest consumer of spreadsheets. Again, unstructured data. Earlier, I was talking about what kind of value you can get from unstructured data using AI. Guess what? Finance is the biggest user of unstructured data anywhere else. So there is a big opportunity right there, but there are also a few things to be careful about as you apply AI. One thing that we've learned is that AI, even though has gotten a lot better, but it's still not at a place where you can just let it run on its own. And So we are always advising not only our internal customers but also to our external customers that always put a human in the loop and let AI do all the grunt work for you. You still save a lot of time, but let a human review the outcome of AI's action and then decide what needs to happen after that. That will protect you from your auditor's concerns. That will also protect you from accidents to happen.
How have some of the more recent lessons that we've been talking about that you've learned and that Blackline is learning and presumably putting into its software development efforts, what are some of the ways that customers might have seen these in some of the more recent products, such as Studio 360?
First of all, let me explain that AI has been part of our technology strategy for quite a while, both at the product level as well as for internal operations. It's just the form of AI has changed. It used to be machine learning in the past, where there was a lot of focus, and over time, it has now started moving a lot more towards generative form of AI, and now some are calling it agentic form of AI. Studio 360 is a brand new product, and I wouldn't specifically discuss Studio 360 because it is expected to solve different kind of problems. But I will give you some other examples where we are using AI or planning to use AI. So the first area where we experimented with generative form of AI was what we call as general risk analyzer. This is a product that looks at all sorts of transactions that are getting reconciled at the end of the quarter by our finance team. And what this tool does is it basically looks at all of those transactions and it identifies if there are any anomalies. And by anomalies, I mean, is there anything unusual with these transactions? And that unusual or anomaly could be caused by accident, by a problem, by a mistake, or it could be malicious and could be intentional, could be a fraud, right? And we are in the best position to do that because we are at the end of the spectrum after all the financial processes have completed, and we are the ones who receive the outcome of everything. So that is the first area where we experimented, and that product is still available, and our customers are using it. Going forward, we are planning to use it for some of our core functionality like matching. Matching is an essential part of our reconciliation process. We get a lot of transactions coming into our ledgers, sub ledgers by our finance teams. And one of the key aspect of or key functionality of the product is to match all these transactions that are coming from different sources, because accounting teams need to make sure that end of the day they all reconcile with each other, there are no discrepancies. And today we do that using rule sets or the traditional ways the automation works, and that requires the users to write rules, and that can take some time. So configuration and administration of your technology can take longer. What AI might do for us is it's going to make it a lot easier for our end users uh, to get value out of matching, because you are not really writing a lot of rules manually, and AI will perform its magic on its own. So that's another area. We also have a product that we sell. This is in the space of cash accounting or invoice to cash. And one of the common problem that finance teams face in that area is that they always want to see how much cash will I have at what point of time during or after my quarter. They want to project or forecast the cash availability. And with the help of AI, we are able to now do it much better or a lot more accurate way, because AI can look at the past trends of payments behavior from the customers, and it can project where you will be at a given point of time when it comes to your cash position. So I can go on and on. There are many areas, but I think the bottom line is the core principles of where we have seen internally where AI is making a difference. We are picking on those use cases and we are trying to apply them on the product and technology side.
You've had a few years of experience in using AI to automate a number of business processes traditionally handled by people. Nowadays, though, many workers, especially white collar ones, I think, and this is different in the history of AI. So it seems to be coming after the jobs of people like me. They're worried about losing their jobs to this type of automation. Do you expect that there will be a significant job losses from generative AI?
Well, let's take a step back because this is a loaded question. I want to be careful I answer this, David. If you just go back a few hundred years, let me take you all the way back to Industrial Revolution. Machines have been, in one way or the other, automating tasks that were manual before. And whenever that happened, it became an issue, and the concern and question about job losses basically were raised at the time. So, if you just compare it like that, it does not seem very different from what has happened in the past. With the help of automation, some form of jobs did become obsolete, and some new kind of jobs were created. That has been an ongoing journey for the entire human race for the time that we all know. Now, the bigger question is, are the new jobs that are getting created are going to compensate for the jobs that are going to become obsolete? That is really the real question here, right? And at this point of time, spending a few years in what we have seen with I can say that there is a lot of reset that is happening in the workforce. There are certain types of tasks that are becoming obsolete. It's very clear. So we don't need to hire those kind of roles, those kind of people. I'll give you an example. Customer support is an area that is bound to see some sort of disruption. Now, the society might actually need that disruption. I don't know who enjoys making a customer care call, explaining the same problem 5 times, getting your call transferred, 3 or 4 times on average, and getting your question answered or not answered, and still spending 60 minutes on a call, right? Those kind of jobs, I think, have to be, or those business processes have to be disrupted one way or the other. But coming back to your question, a lot will depend on how AI evolves from here. We know where it is today. And at this point of time, we know certain job functions will get disrupted. But what's more important is where AI will be next 2, 3, 5 years. There is a chance that AI will progress so fast that the creation of new jobs is not going to be as fast as the loss of older kind of jobs. And if that happens, I think the government, the society, some sort of rethinking needs to happen about, where do we go from here? I know there have been some discussions about universal minimum income kind of concepts, etc. But we are nowhere close to that. We're not close to that kind of risk. What we are seeing right now is that competition has become harder. Your job may not be replaced by AI completely, but your job might be replaced by a person who's leveraging AI and is more productive than you. That definitely is an image kind of an imminent kind of risk that people should be aware of. How you incorporate AI in your daily life, in your work life, it's a good reminder that if you are not keeping up with the pace, then yes, your skills can get outdated. That is the concern I think we are dealing with right now. But the concern of having significant job losses in the near future is not as big as it might be portrayed.
Often, corporate leaders will say that people will be freed up to do jobs that AI can't do, and maybe things that are more uniquely what humans are capable of. And they will be given the training, often it's said, so that they can make the transition maybe to different roles amid the workflows that probably now have agentic AI and bots and other intelligent things working alongside them. Since you've been doing this now in more than one employer, what have you, or currently at Blackline and previously, have they been doing to help employees adapt to this world that's going to be more AI driven?
So I'll just continue my answer to your last question. If you ask me, one of my biggest challenge right now that I'm facing, and many other CIOs probably, they all are looking at the opportunity that AI provides, and they are trying to now reskill their organization, both their teams as well as teams outside, or employees outside their organization, so that they can adapt and use AI better. We are past that stage where we don't know what to do with AI, or is this thing real or not. We are at a stage where we know this thing is real, we know how to use it, but we don't have enough capacity, we don't have enough people, we don't have enough talent, and that's a next stage of the problem to solve. So, like I was saying before, at this point of time, we are not dealing with the risk of significant job losses, but we are dealing with challenge about how do we exploit AI to the best of our advantage? How do we turn this into a competitive advantage for our teams, for our organization in general? Because the technology does provide potential to either take out your advantage that you have today or give you an advantage that you did not have in the past. The world is moving really fast, and it's extremely important for organizations to invest in reskilling their teams, turning their employees AI aware, investing in initiatives like data, so that because AI in itself cannot function without good quality data, right? So investments in AI are leading into other investments like improving the quality of the data or providing enough trainings so that your employees can get the best out of AI. All those things are happening and need to happen. But right now, we're not dealing with the problem of I only need 10 people within my organization when I had 30 before. I don't think that's the issue we are solving for right now.
I noticed in reading your background that you have been involved also in the compliance and security needs of corporations.
Right.
It's a very important area you've been involved in managing, including in the mobile context. Wondering how the current generation of AI is changing those aspects of IT automation and digital transformation.
Every time we are talking about AI, I mean, we generally end up talking a lot about how AI is affecting bottom line or top line use cases, but we don't always talk about some of these areas where I think AI's impact is going to be a lot more significant. Your question about audits, let's tackle that first. Every organization, including Blackline, has to every year go through several audits, and because we have several certifications that we carry, we take compliance very seriously. And the amount of time that gets spent or wasted in these repetitive exercises, answering the same question in every single audit, providing the same evidence that you have already provided time and again, every week, every month, it's part of our roles, our jobs in IT areas, especially, which no one enjoys honestly because it's so repetitive. You don't feel passionate about some of these things. I mean, no offense to people who do this for a living, but that's the general feedback that I get. And in my past life, we were able to apply AI and automation to automate the task of collecting evidence for these repeated questions that get asked in audits. And the net result of that was if we were spending, let's say, 20 hours, 30 hours to complete an audit, we were able to cut it down to like 10 hours or 5 hours. Because if everything is automated, then you can simply put a bot in front of an auditor and let the auditor ask the questions and ask for the evidence in support of those questions, and bot should be able to provide that, and AI has the potential to do it. So that's my take on the audit side. Your other question was about security operations. So AI often gets talked and discussed in the form of driving efficiency and achieving savings. But there is another category of tasks where we are realizing that putting enough human capital is just never going to be able to scale the operations. And cybersecurity is one such area. I have X number of people in my team today who are tasked with running security operations. Their entire job is to constantly look at alerts, logs, and if they see any anomaly, they're supposed to be taking actions. But the data inside every organization, the signals that you get, the alerts that you get is exploding every day. And it's just humanly not possible to look at all of them without some sort of AI and automation. And that is extremely important for how you can use AI, because otherwise you are just not going to be able to perform the job to your satisfaction unless you have some level of AI and automation, right? So that is why I'm really big on applying AI to detect signals and advise you to take the right actions. On the flip side, I am also concerned that AI will be and can be, and maybe already is being used to make the existing form of security attacks, cybersecurity attacks, a lot more sophisticated.
Mhm.
And one of the most common example for that is phishing. Most cyber attacks start with a phishing attack because they're just trying to get a foot in the door before they expand and become a little more problematic for you. And these phishing attempts that happen through emails, messages, phone calls, are starting to become a lot more sophisticated. It is becoming starting to become harder and harder to tell whether it's a legitimate outreach by somebody who's trying to sell you something or it's a cyber kind of phishing attempt. And that does make me nervous. The answer to those risks is again applying AI. You have to apply AI to manage the risks of AI that is being used by the other side.
Those two examples you just gave, compliance related and security related, they seem like clear cut examples of either people being freed up to do other things, like not being stuck doing the really boring things, or being able to do something they can't do because it's just too much of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's too much volume to stay on top of. They
Well,
need,
you said that in like 10 words, and I had to speak up for 5 minutes to make the
no,
same point.
but you, but I summarized after listening to you. I had the benefit of your explanation.
Yeah.
So, what's your ultimate vision for all of this? And I know I've been back and forth on the topics. We have to always talk about AI and what people in the know think about it, but then also you have this interesting concept of customer zero and the way the IT department is kind of like a test bed for things or like the vanguard of
Right.
things that can then be done in the organization, but then the organization as a vendor can bring it out to the customers. So
Yeah.
what's the vision of this sort of holistic way that you're looking at using AI and other forms of smart automation in the ways we've been talking about? What could it all lead to, do you think?
I think it is a huge opportunity for IT organizations, CIO organizations to make a point that we are not just about managing cost centers. We are not just about keeping the lights on. The kind of work that we do can have a material impact on top line and bottom line. We always get tagged as a G&E organization, and I know that's sometimes not very motivating for IT employees. I look at this as a tool, as an opportunity that they can leverage if they're serious about it to bring some real good transformation inside your organization. I truly believe that you cannot become a provider of AI unless you have embraced AI for your internal operations first. You can hire a skill set from outside, but you are never going to be able to touch a level that is attainable if you are living, breathing AI every single day, every single task that you're performing for yourself. And that is what I'm trying to do internally, so that my employees have access to the modern transformative kind of abilities of AI every single day, and they can turn those lessons that they learn while using it into building something that can be consumed by our customers.
Sumit, this has been a very interesting discussion, and you do explain things very clearly. I appreciate your time today coming on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting, David. Appreciate it.